Ira, can you hear me?
Yeah, Max, what's going on?
Oh, how's it going, Ira? How's your Thanksgiving and your holidays? How's your
Good,
holiday season
good,
going?
good. How about you?
It's going pretty well despite our Jets just going down the tubes as usual. 11 seasons in a row now, if you want to go even further than that, over probably 50 years from when even you were a kid.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe. It's really amazing. But man, oh man, I didn't expect them to win many games this year, but I didn't expect, for this level of incompetency the way they're playing football.
It's going backwards. Now, from when we talked last, do you feel as though that these judgments are right coming in from fans and experts saying that this is worse than gays?
Well, I mean, I've even said it myself. Um, yeah, in many ways it is. In many ways it is because I understand it's a rookie coaching staff and it's a rookie quarterback. I get that. But at this stage of the game, they should have shown some sort of progress where they were a better team at the beginning of the season than they are now.
Yeah.
And that's scary. That's scary. At least with Gase, you know what? I'm not making an excuse. He was a horrible coach too. But the first year they did go six, or they won 6 out of 7 down the stretch. I get that. And last year was just another disaster. But I think it's becoming a clearer picture that while the coaching for the last couple of years has been lackluster, that's I'm being polite here. I think Joe Douglas is. It's time to start getting a little heat on Joe Douglas.
I agree. I've been saying this all along that they've been too easy about this guy. The media's finally getting on him. I was reading today that Joe Douglas as a GM, his record is 5-24 with this team. I think it's time to really get on him now. And I think we said this the last time that you called in was that he's going to really start spending money here for free agents once the noose starts tightening around his neck. I think the noose is on now.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And to his credit, he does get trade value. The
Mhm.
Donald, the Adams, whatever other moves, he has acquired draft capital. But the problem is, he's really not turning those picks into players yet. I
No.
mean, basically now, you know how I felt about Mims all along.
Yeah.
Um, Basically, that whole first draft is pretty much wiped out except for Bryce Hall. Because Becton's going to be an average player at best.
Yeah. And I heard he's
Um,
put on a lot of weight during his injury too, which is very scary.
that's really scary. And so that whole draft looks like a bust. This draft, he hit on Tucker, he hit on Moore, Carter, the running back, Carter, the DB. They're all, they seem like players. But the big question is, did he blow the pick on the quarterback? And it's way too early to say that. But I'm starting to get some major concerns.
I am too. And I was thinking because we wanted Zach Wilson, and I know
Oh yeah, of
we're
course.
always the first to admit when we're wrong, of course. And I don't mind eating the crow because we wanted Sam Darnold out of
Right,
here.
of course.
But now that you have all this draft capital, should we do what Arizona did and look for another quarterback or even a veteran that's out there, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo or another quarterback that may be on the trade market? Should we head in that? Because I just want the drought to end. I want to win.
No, I know, but you know what? Douglas is going to stick with his plan about this rebuilding. He's not going to do what McCagnon did in 015.
Yeah.
He's not going to get a bunch of 30-year-olds here so they could go, 9-8 next year and maybe sniff the playoffs, and then it'll all fall apart the year after. He's going to stick with his plan. But with that said, I don't think we're going to learn much more from Zach Wilson these next 4 games. The Dolphins, Bills, and Bucks all have good defenses. The Jaguars, who knows what's going to happen with that game. So I think at the end of the year, you're not going to really know what Zach Wilson is going into next year. And with that said, I want somebody that's going to come in here, that's a grade above Joe Flacco that could come in here that, you know what, if Wilson struggles over the summer, I'm okay turning the reins over to a veteran quarterback and let the kid sit.
I agree. And that's something that you strongly made a point about on the radio and all along was that you wanted the veteran quarterback to be in here because Zach Wilson, he didn't look ready in camp. I remember you saying that there were issues of concern, and you see it's happening now.
Yep, and that's the scary part, and even though I thought he was up and down in camp, and struggle is probably not the right word, but I'll use it. He's he was a better player in the summertime than he is now.
Yeah,
And honestly, I think he's lost his confidence, and it's starting to affect his play on the field.
I agree.
And once that sets in mentally, they got a major overhaul to do with this kid in the off season, and that's on them, man, because they definitely rolled the dice starting this kid from week one, and it was the wrong way to go.
I don't like that the fan base and just the media has turned on him because he hasn't even played a full season. You got to look at it, the injury with the PCL injury that he had this season. He hasn't even played a full season of football, and we're making him out to be the scapegoat. When Saleh, you have C.J. Mosley admitting that they weren't even ready for Minshew, so this coach doesn't even have his defense ready. Who knows how he has his offense prepared because the defense isn't even prepared, and that's his strong suit.
That's right. No, I agree with you. It's funny. I just got done watching the tape of the game from yesterday, and the defense did play hard, but once again, they missed assignments. They weren't setting the edge. You know the final statistics. I mean, I had a huge problem. I don't know if you heard me on the radio this week. I said, you know what? Even if you lose to the Saints, they're a one-dimensional team without a quarterback. You have to make sure if you're going to lose to the Saints, it's through the air. You can't let them run the ball. And they chipped away slowly, 2 yards, 2 yards, 10 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, 15 yards. And at the end of the day, they ran for over 200 yards, and then they had the ball for 40 minutes. And that's bad. That's a bad reflection on the players, and it's worse for the coaches.
It really is. And if you think about it, too, with Zach Wilson going 19 for 42 yesterday, all the drop passes, I get that Corey Davis is out, Moore is out, the top receivers are out for this team, but these are NFL receivers. They should be making some sort of catches. So you really can't tell if Zach Wilson is really regressing because everyone's dropping his passes, but you also see these short plays where he's missing these guys short.
That's right. And you know what? On some of these throws, they should have held on to the ball. I get that. He should have had 4 or 5 more completions. But, like the short pass to Griffith, when he was scrambling around, he threw it into the dirt. He threw one into the dirt with Berrios. He was high on Keenan Cole a couple of times. It's just, and his footwork is starting to look sloppy. And that's where it starts. If a quarterback's footwork is not right, there's problems. And, you saw it with Sam, and then you're starting to see it again with Zach now. And it's just like I said. Listen. I'm still all in on the Zach Wilson. I draft him all over again. I'm not even doubting drafting him. It's the way they've handled him up until now, and I think they're going to just ride it through. And let's just hope, in the off season, they could turn this kid around and start from, start it all over. But it's almost a wasted year.
Yeah.
Because you were hoping to go into next year with, okay, they had a nice draft, you got a good foundation, you made some progress, maybe you win 4 or 5 games, but now the quarterback's going into a second year, you expect more. But I feel like he's going into next year and he's a rookie.
Yeah. I do. He's regressed so much. And if you remember at the beginning of the season when he was playing the Titans, these games early on, he was throwing bombs down the field.
Right, but what he was doing also against the Titans was, he gets outside the pocket and, he improvises these plays. He's okay doing that. But just sitting in the pocket and making reads and reading defenses and looking for the open guys, he just doesn't see it right now. And that's, I think, part of the problem. And now, like I said, I think it's hurt his confidence. And, with all the other issues, it's just, the running game has been lackluster. The offensive line actually played better than I thought they would. They've actually, I think the offensive line is probably the most improved group on this football team going, as the season has gone on.
Oh, and I agree with you on that because if you think about it, we were killing Connor McGovern and Greg Van Rotener at the earlier of the season because they were just not giving any time to Zach Wilson when he was under center for this team. But it's improved drastically, and hopefully they can build upon that going into next year. And it's always insane because they mentioned yesterday that the Jets are eliminated from the playoffs. Realistically, we were eliminated in September when we saw some of these games, and it gets tiring when you have to start looking at the draft classes so early. Do you think that the Jets go all defense in the first round? Because I feel as though that's where Saleh's going to be heading.
I would think so. I mean, if you look at the current roster right now, Marcus May, of course, is gone. I don't know if he's going to bring Joyner back. So you probably Ashton Davis is horrible.
Ugh.
So they need two safeties realistically. They need at least one corner. They're probably going to need two linebackers. They still need an edge rusher. So you potentially between free agency and the draft, you're probably looking at a good 5 to maybe 7 new starters on defense next year.
Yeah, I think so. And another thing, too, with the offense is I think it's time that we get a tight end. I mean, we've only been talking about this for over a year now.
I know. Mickey Schuler's probably, well, actually, I was a big Dustin Keller fan. And then I used to take a lot of flack for it. But you know what? He was a productive tight end. And, if Wilson had one right now, it would sure make his life a lot easier, I can tell you that.
If he had a George Kittle, he certainly would be, because that's a security blanket. And I was looking at the free agent class for these tight ends. Zach Ertz is a free agent. Jared Cook is a free agent. And Gesicki from the Dolphins. Is there any names that you're eyeing that you want for a tight end? Because I think they should really go all out on one.
Actually, I haven't done my homework on free agency yet, or even the draft. I'm just my head's not into it. Not right now. It's like week after week getting blown out, knowing what's coming in the off season. I'm just not mentally prepared for that to start thinking that way. But he's going to spend money. He's going to spend money because he's going to have to. Of course, I think his job's going to be on the line next year, because if Wilson doesn't show anything next year and they have another 4 or 5 win season, I think all bets are off next year.
What's really interesting, and it kind of proves that Joe Douglas really hasn't done much for this team besides the draft capital. I agree with that with Jamal Adams, Sam Darnold, 100%. I still think he should pull off a big trade similar to DeAndre Hopkins and Stephon Diggs and getting a big-time player that way. But when you read online that the Jets are going to have $208 million in cap space to spend in this offseason, you start to think to yourself, what are they doing with the money they have now? What are they doing with that money all along?
I know it's insane to think about, but and I think the cap, I've heard they may even go up another $25 million. So they're going to have plenty of money to spend. It's just, are they going to spend it on? Are they going to get more Tremaine Johnsons, or are they going to actually find players who could play?
Or are they going to pay players like John Franklin Myers who play well until they get paid, then they forget how to play football?
You got a big one with Quinn Williams. Do you lock him up to a big contract? Do you make him play? I mean, there's going to be so many questions that have to be answered this offseason. And the thing here is, and I bought into Joe Douglas, and I'm not closing a book on the guy right now, but he's got to prove to me now that he's the right guy. See, in the beginning, I thought he was the right guy to run the organization. Now I have doubts, and he has to prove it to me.
I did too. As soon as he was brought over from the Eagles organization, seeing what he did with that team, I was confident. I said, this guy's going to help turn the Jets right around here, make great moves. And he really hasn't. Just as besides the draft, the trade capital that he's gotten through the draft from the trades that he's made. But besides that, he really hasn't done much. And I think the media is starting to get on his case now, and I think he's going to start spending. I just hope he doesn't go so gun-ho to be like Mike McCagnon and just give everything away to players that didn't even pan out. And we're talking about Tremaine Johnson and Le'Veon Bell and these players that he brought in that never panned out.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get to that extent. It's really going to depend on Woody. Is he going to let him go really crazy? I don't think. I think one thing about Douglas, I think he's going to stay true to what he really believes in, and he'll probably spend more than he's comfortable with spending. But I think he's going to try to avoid paying B players A money.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right on that. Is there any players that you're eyeing in the draft that you want? There is Stingley, the cornerback out of LSU, even though I do have flashbacks of Jamal Adams, but he's the number 1 cornerback in the draft. Would you take him?
Yeah, if he's the highest rated player on my board, yeah. I mean, they're going to be in position, in that first round, they should get 2 quality starters. And whether it's an edge rusher, whether it's Stingley, maybe they get a center in the second round. I would say once again, we're way too early on this, and we don't even know what they're going to do in free agency. But if I had a crystal ball, I would say 3 of the first 4 picks will be for defensive players.
I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised. And what really makes me bitter is that the Patriots apparently just rebuild only within 1 year, and here they are. They're going to be winning the division here.
That's the other issue that really bothers me a lot. I mean, regardless of what happens with the Jets, even if they get everything right, let's say they hit a grand slam, and they hit the free agency, they hit the draft, Wilson comes back, he's got his head screwed on right, he's the quarterback we think he is. But look where the Bills and the Patriots are right now. Even if everything goes perfect for the Jets, they're not ready to compete with those 2 teams.
No.
They're not. Those 2 teams are way ahead of them at this point.
No.
And we didn't even mention the Dolphins.
Oh, and they're really on the rise too, and we forget about them because they were on a bye week. But Tua Tagovailoa, I mean, he's heavily slept on. He's actually playing better now. When experts were saying, "Oh, he's not that great of a quarterback," he's showing his arm strength now. I would take him. I don't know what everyone else is seeing right now, and what Jalen Waddle is doing down there too. So the Jets really have a lot to do this offseason.
They really do, and it's. Man, I think back all the years with this organization, and this is really one of the worst teams ever put together. It really is.
It's unwatchable.
From top to bottom. From top to bottom. Players, coaches. It just, and you know what? It's the same story week after week. It doesn't matter the opponent. It doesn't matter the game situation. It's the same stupid penalties. It's the same mismanagement of the clock. It's the mental mistakes. It's preparation. They never seem. If you watch from week 1 against Carolina to yesterday afternoon, you do not see the Jets attack offensively or defensively to the weaknesses of the opponents.
No.
And that's a big issue. That's a big issue.
No. You're right. You don't. And this coach, I mean, I get that he gets all fired up at the referees, but he's got to show a little more energy towards these players. And how do you feel about his lax state of being a coach? Because I remember we talked about the comparisons between him and Joe Judge at the beginning of the season, and Judge isn't panning out for the Giants either.
Well, listen, what we see outside, we see, coaches talk, we see them react on the field. We don't know what's going on inside the building. But, right now, there's a lot not to like about Saleh at this point. It's almost like, I'll give you a perfect example. Mm-hmm. At training camp, I think Saleh did an excellent job, him and his staff, with tackling drills. They were wrapping up the tackling dummies. They were teaching technique. But yet in the games, the Jets are like leading the league in missed tackles. So they taught it right. The players seem to execute it right in practice. But for some reason or another, it doesn't get done in the game. It's like the players tune out the coaches.
And I feel bad for you for going to these games and that you have to put up with this every week and week in and week out. It's the same thing. And just the press conferences are just, it's always, we're going through a rough slump. This is the crappy time. It will get better. Well, when is better? That's what I want to know. When is better?
Well, I've heard that for 10 years
yeah.
now. Actually, probably for 50 years I've heard that for, but, except for a run here or a run there. I guess at some point it's going to get better, but with this group, prove it to me. That's where I am. I have concerns about the whole operation. I have concerns with, but I'll back them. I'll support them, but they got to prove it to me now. Of course, right now I have a lot of doubts.
I do too. I don't know what's going to happen and what's going to take. I think we may beat the Jaguars, but I think we're going to lose out of the last 4 games. We're going to lose 3 of them.
I would agree with you, but before I called you, I read that the Dolphins may be without any running backs this weekend.
Oh, wow.
It looks like all 3 of their running backs they just released were put in their COVID protocol. So they're actually working out Lamar Miller because they have no running backs for this week.
Now, if the Jets lose and the Dolphins don't have any running backs, I mean, the papers and the fans are really going to go ballistic, I think.
Well, also the Jets.
They're in COVID protocols. Justin Hardy, I saw.
Well, also they're in virtual meetings now for the rest of the week.
Yep.
So they got an issue going on right now. So I don't know what to expect this Sunday, but once again, it's this was all about the quarterback this year, and right now, and unless something drastically changes, I don't think we're going to get the answer by the end of the year.
No. I was wishing and hoping to see some progress this year, and you really didn't. It scares me when you hear these things going on where they hired one of his development coaches mid-season to help him gain his fundamentals back. That kind of bothered me.
Of course, it bothered me too. I mean, how many guys got to be in this kid's ear? Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe he's hearing it from. I mean, I'm sure they're all on the same page, but he's hearing it from LaFleur. He's hearing it from Calabrese, Kavanaugh, now Beck. I mean, maybe the kid's confused. Who knows?
It's insane that where this team is heading. There's no progress at all. I'm hoping we see something by the end of the season because I don't know what's going to happen. And do they? I think you're right. I think Douglas is going to stick with his rebuild plan, but there's something because I just want to win so bad as a Jet fan, and I'm sure you do too. You really want to win.
Of course.
I would love if we're certain that Zach Wilson isn't the answer. I think now would be the time if there's an opportunity to get a great quarterback via trade. I think to do it with the draft, some of the draft picks, if you can, but it depends on which quarterback it is. Because I want to win. I want the quarterback drought to end now. I really do.
I'm not. I respect your opinion. I just can't go down that road there right now. To me, you got to stick with Wilson, and you could have that argument after next season.
Yeah.
But if we're looking for a quarterback after next year, the guy picking a quarterback's not going to be Douglas, and the guy coaching the quarterback's not going to be Saleh.
No.
And I got the NFL Network on. They're showing the highlights of Taylor running that 80-yard and 90-yard touchdown against the Jets on that Thursday night game. Another horror show. The defense, as much as we're disappointed in the quarterback, the defense is just historically bad.
They're really disappointing.
It really is.
Because the Jets are always known for their defense, and they always put up a fight, and they always have a decent defense. This year, it's just nothing. It's just one gaping hole.
It's brutal. It really is brutal. But, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some changes on the coaching staff on the defense. And I don't like to call for people's jobs, but, they finish off like this, some heads are going to roll. Woody Johnson is not going to be happy you bring them all back. It's not happening.
No, and I think there's going to be some major changes. And I do agree with you on the point of keeping Wilson because we did draft him. It's just, I want to win, and I get that.
I know it's frustrating, of course. You're going to have a couple of premier quarterbacks on the market, but you can't go down that road.
No,
it's just the games, the fans, and I understand people get frustrated, but like yesterday, there was like nobody in the building. The place was half empty, and by the middle of the third quarter, people were leaving. They had enough.
I don't know what it's going to take for this team to get to that next level where we could talk about playoffs again, because now I'm feeling as though we may not even get the playoffs next year.
Oh, they're not getting the playoffs next year. Don't be ridiculous. No. There's no way. There's no way. This team, at the very best, is 2 years away from really making a playoff run.
Horrible.
It really is. And do you know the opponents they have next year?
Who do they play next year exactly?
Okay. Well, of course, you got the division games, right?
Yes.
So the NFC game, that's that 17th game.
Mm-hmm.
They play the last place finisher of the NFC West, which should be Seattle. So they're going to Seattle. They're in Green Bay and in Minnesota. They got the Bears and the Lions at home. They're at Pittsburgh and at Cleveland. They got the Bengals and the Ravens at home. And they got a trip to the West Coast for the last place finisher in the AFC West. That's a tough schedule.
Ugh. And it seems as though the worse we do, the harder the games get.
Of course, I know. You know why? It's because teams seem to get it right and get better, where we're kind of stagnant, and it's just like it's a wash and rinse and wash and rinse, however you want to say it, or recite. It continuously gets washed, rinsed out, and you got to rewash it.
Yep.
It's not good. It really isn't good. I'd love to say keep the faith. Don't give up, hang in there. But that's getting old. Even with somebody like me, I tried it. It's hard to be. It's hard to think positive when the last 10 years have been just awful football.
Horrible years just with this football team, and then you have the Rex Ryan and Robert Saleh going at it in arguments against each other. And Rex Ryan's last years weren't pretty either, if we can recall. Those were some terrible years.
No, they the last year was 4-12. I
Yeah.
think the last year, but he was set up for failure by him because he wanted his own coach. But the year before that, he finished 8-8. But it's interesting you bring that up because. Now, we all know how these quarterbacks' careers played out, but you take Sanchez and his rookie year. You take Donald his rookie year. You take Geno. I mean, all three of those quarterbacks, they finished strong the last month of the season.
They did.
You're not going to say that about Zach Wilson over this next 4 or 5, starting with yesterday. You're not going to say that.
No.
And what does it all come down to? Is that the Jets took quarterbacks that maybe had potential that should have been better, and by the time they were done with them, their careers were done.
And we've had conversations about Sanchez that he really could have been the starter for this franchise for years to come.
Absolutely. 100%. Even his rookie year, which his numbers weren't that great, you could never take away what he accomplished in the playoffs.
And I hate when people say that Sanchez was just an average quarterback and he was horrible, because there was so much history there that he was able to accomplish, and going on the road and beating these legendary quarterbacks and Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, and just what he accomplished. And Tom Brady, that game in Foxborough.
He was 4-2 in 2 seasons in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. He outplayed Manning, and he basically outplayed Roethlisberger. They just came up short.
Phillip Rivers.
He beat Carson Palmer. He outplayed Brady. I mean, 6 playoff games. Now, I understand the supporting cast and the team was better, but when do you think the next conversation we're going to have about a Jet quarterback that just played 6 playoff games?
I hope it's with Wilson, but I really do.
I mean, realistically, is it coming in the next 3 to 4 years? Probably not.
No. I don't see it that way.
No, neither do I. I think they're stuck, and you just gotta hope. If you want to think positive, you just gotta hope that Douglas and his staff gets this off season right, and that the coaching staff maybe they learn from their mistakes this season, and they start to put it together next year. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not, but I gotta hope for it. I mean, you got to have some type of hope going into next year.
Yeah, I agree. And plays like, what really bothered me was the play against the Texans when he threw the ball to Ty Johnson. And Ty Johnson is just, I don't know, can he ever catch a pass from Zach Wilson? Ty Johnson, that back interception, that's just, they were calling that the cousin of the butt fumble. And it's just, all these plays they only happen on the Jets. They really do.
How about the grounding yesterday with Zach Wilson? How bad of a play was that?
When he just threw it to the left side.
Now, in Wilson's defense, he threw a beauty of a pass on 4th down to Berrios.
He did.
But you see, that's what's so frustrating. So the kid has the talent. He has the talent.
You
but
do.
do we have the right staff to get the most out of the talent? That's the thing.
Hmm. And I think what you said before was Woody Johnson getting rid of some coaching and staff during the offseason here. I think that's coming.
Oh, it's definitely coming. I think 100% that's coming. I wouldn't be surprised if the defensive coordinators change, and I'd say maybe 3 or 4 of his assistants go. It would not surprise me at all. I mean, like I said, I don't like calling for people's jobs, but somebody's got to pay for this.
I agree. And the fans, you really got to feel for the fans, and fans just not even myself. I mean, you, someone that's been a fan for over 50 years that has watched this team nonstop, and there's just the fans have nothing to cheer for, and that's just it's gut wrenching when you've been so invested for so long.
I had so many people that I know for years in the stadium that sit near me that told me they're not renewing their tickets. And they've been there for years going back to Shea Stadium. I was talking with Beningo last night, and we sat and we figured this out. Since 1970, if our math was right, okay, since 1970, that's 51 years, all right? Out of those 51 seasons, they've had 22 seasons of 10 losses or more. That's almost half.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No. And it goes with the ownership. It just runs back to so many lines. It's just the way this franchise has been run for years and years. And I don't know. And anytime I ask anyone about the Johnsons, they always say that they want to win. And
of course, they do want to win. They
yeah.
just don't know how.
Yeah.
They don't know how. Woody got really lucky as an owner. He took over a team that Parcells got back on the map. They were, they just came short a couple of Super Bowl appearances. And, he hit it, Algor fell apart, but then he brings in Herm and he had Mangini and he got Rex. So, his first 10 years of ownership, 10, 11 years, they had 5, 6 playoff appearances. They had a couple of AFC championship appearances. But then ever since that Victor Cruz play, they haven't recovered.
No, that Christmas play.
That was it. I mean, think about it. Ever since that play, it's all gone south, except for the 2015 season, which was,
the Buffalo heart crusher.
Yeah, which was another debacle that turned out to be, and we're probably going to be going up to Buffalo the last week of the season. The Bills are going to need that game for a playoff spot or playoff positioning. I don't think that's going to be pretty. I don't think we're going to do to the Bills what they did to us.
I would love to get some revenge on them. I would.
Yeah, but don't hold your breath on it.
No. Ugh. Are you going to be in Buffalo? You're going to be going to the rest of these games?
Well, actually, believe it or not, I'm supposed to go to Miami this weekend, but it's a little game and a little beach and sun. But the forecast right now, it looks like 3 or 4 days of straight rain.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, I'm going to wait till Thursday. And if the forecast doesn't change, I'm probably going to kill the Miami trip. Mm-hmm. The Buffalo trip, my flight got canceled, and I've yet to rebook. And if things continue the way they are, chances are I'm not going to go.
Yeah. Now, is this because? Besides that, do you think that you'll be going every game next year, right?
No, actually, I think I'm going to. It's not what it used to be. The traveling, the flights are limited now. It just games that would end. 1 o'clock games were over 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So you would book a 6:30, 7 o'clock flight with no problem. But now games are over 4:15, 4:20, 4:30. There's different security at the airports, now with COVID, the whole world has changed.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just going to pick and choose my games next year. I'll do the New England trip. I hope to get to Green Bay. I'll get to Miami. I'll pick one of the two, Cleveland or Pittsburgh. But it's going to be, I'm going to just take it one at a time because I can't plan it the way I used to. We're living in a different world right now.
Yeah, and I hope that you and your family are safe during these times because COVID with the new variant that's out there, it's still it's still going on out here, which is insane. And we're going on 3 years of COVID-19 now. And I hope something changes. I really do, just to get back to some sense of normalcy in this country.
Well, yeah, no, I know it's really crazy. And the NFL, what I read before I called you, 37 players and staff tested positive today
Ugh.
around the league. And they said the hardest hit were the Jets, Washington, and I forget who the third team was. So, and that's with people being vaccinated.
Yeah.
So it's not good.
No.
It's not a good thing. And, besides the football stuff, just, us in the country is, somehow, some way we got to figure this out to deal with this because, the numbers are going up again, and I don't know. I certainly don't have the answers. And like you said, I just hope your family and hopefully my family and everybody else's family just stay safe, be smart, and hopefully we just get through this.
Yeah, I'm hoping sooner than later, and just keeping the hope alive here for the country and for the Jets.
There you go. That's it. Maybe if the Jets start 4-2 next year, maybe everything will go away.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Oh, Ira, is there anything else you would love to let the audience know, the listeners know, anything that you want to speak about?
Oh, we didn't talk real quickly. We didn't talk about the kicking situation.
Oh, yes. Amendola and all that.
Oh my goodness! He started off so great. Maybe not as a field goal kicker, but he took over the punting situation. In the opener in Carolina because man got hurt.
That's right.
And we said, oh, look at this guy. He could punt. He could kick field goals. And all of a sudden, about 12 kickers later, we end up with Pinheiro, and he goes 3 for 3 yesterday. So maybe we finally found the kicker. Who knows? We'll find out in Miami. We'll see what happens.
I'm hoping maybe we found that finally replacement for Nick Folk, because Nick Folk will always be that great kicker.
There you go. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I hope the weather changes for the upcoming weekend in Miami, and hopefully I'll be there. But if it stays with rain, unfortunately, I'll be sitting at home watching.
Yeah, and I hope that the forecast does change so you can get out there, enjoy the sun too, get away from this cold weather that we're experiencing right now, and go enjoy that sunny and warm weather, and hopefully a Jets win, or if not a Jets win, some progress, because that's what we really want to see.
There you go. From your lips are going to ears.
Yes.
Listen, have a great holiday season, a healthy one, and Happy New Year, everybody.
You too, Ira. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your night, all right? We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Bye.